Well, we spoke to them on Tuesday. Let's hear if this stunning victory has sunk in, and hear again from Jim Hobart, who is the Vice President of Public Opinion Strategies, which is a Republican polling company. He's in Washington. Laura Schwartz, who worked for the Clinton administration and is in Las Vegas. And Charlotte Laws, a Donald Trump supporter, author and political commentator, who is in Los Angeles. First, though, let's speak to Jenny LeBlanc, who was out protesting in San Francisco overnight, and Chico. He's just left an anti-Trump protest in LA. He doesn't want us to use his surname. Chico, what are you protesting about?
I mean, it's obvious what everyone's saying. I'm sure the people protesting in San Francisco, and not just San Francisco and Los Angeles, the people protesting all over the country right now are clearly shouting out that this is not our president. This is not the person that we want running our country. This is not. We do not want a racist,
it's too late,
bigoted,
Chico.
Yeah.
It's too late.
It is too late, but it's us trying to voice out what we are afraid of. It's us trying to make sure that it's not just an election that we lost. It's an election that we lost to a man that has all this power and that has all these opinions on people that now fear for their lives living in this country. I don't think that that's something that our own president currently is saying that he's not qualified. Like, every single president that's currently alive did not vote for him. All the people that are against him are clearly stating that, like, he's not fit to run the country. And these kinds of things that it's like, why would we want this thing in our country? Why should we be afraid? It's not even that we're upset, it's that we're afraid.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. Explain to our British audience, as a Mexican who came to the US when you were a young boy, what it is you are afraid of now that Donald Trump is set to be your next president.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm Guatemalan, not Mexican.
I beg your pardon.
But that's another thing is, just coming here to this country, I was taught by my parents that we came here to have better opportunities in other places than in our home country, and to have to suddenly feel like those opportunities are being taken away, are certain laws that give them that suddenly Donald Trump is support and wants to get rid of, and now they have to not being able to finish college, not being able to live here, having their family separate, being deported and things like that. That's not what the country was built on.
We can see images of protesters burning effigies of Donald Trump. Jenny, why are you protesting? What do you want now?
I think at least for me, what's most important is that the rest of the world understands that we're a very divided country. We don't all back Trump. This isn't what all of us wanted. This is a very split decision. He doesn't speak for all of us. We understand what this election means, not just for us, but for the rest of the world, and how it can affect, the markets and all of that. I just don't want the rest of the world to see something through the news and think that we're all, backing some, bigoted person with zero experience with military, zero experience with politics, and that we all think this was, a great idea and that we back it.
Let me bring in Charlotte Laws then, who's shaking her head in disagreement to almost everything you're both saying. Charlotte, what do you say to someone like Chico, who is scared?
Well, if his family is here legally, he has nothing to be scared of. This country is about opportunity, but obviously you need to come here legally. There are a lot of people who have been standing in line for a long time to get into this country and jumping through the proper hoops. If you have done it illegally, then you shouldn't be here in the first place. But as for the protesters, Trump did win a decisive victory. And democracy is about accepting the will of the people. And I support people's right to protest. I don't support people's right to block traffic or set things on fire or damage property, which I understand has been happening. But I also think that they need to understand that we have a democracy and that President Trump is going to be a good president. He's not what you are describing him to be. He is quite different than the way the media has depicted him.
Okay, let me bring in Jim then. First of all, Jim, are you still in shock or not as a Republican pollster?
Certainly surprising. It wasn't the result that we expected, but I think that was part of an error on us as a polling industry and also the media. I think looking back, this was a very close race, and it was always a very close race. And too many people went into it with the approach that Donald Trump is not going to win, and so they used data to reinforce their preconceived notion. Whereas in reality, it was a close race, and he managed to win.
Mm. Is he going to deliver now on imposing 45% tariffs on Chinese imports, building that massive wall along the border with Mexico, huge infrastructure spending at the same time as cutting taxes?
I think that remains to be seen. He has made several promises, and obviously is going to have to work with Congress and the U.S. Senate to get those things passed. But if one thing I've learned over the past 18 months is I'm out of the business of making predictions about Donald Trump. He seems to always surprise people, so we'll have to see what he does.
Fair enough. Laura Schwartz, you worked for the Bill Clinton administration. Hillary Clinton said yesterday Democrats like yourself should have an open mind about Donald Trump and effectively give him a chance. Can you do that?
Yeah, I think she was very eloquent and graceful in her remarks yesterday, and I believe that, the primary campaign is over, the general campaign is over. Donald Trump won the Electoral College. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and that's why it was so important for Hillary to say today or yesterday to gather everyone around, and very important to mention that when she called Donald Trump to concede the election on election evening, she conceded by also saying that I am here to help you along the way. I will work with you. And she made that known to her supporters today, which I thought was really a classy move.
This just in, Australian immigration officials say they have experienced an increase in website views in the US following Donald Trump's victory. The same has also happened in New Zealand and Canada. What do you make of that, Charlotte?
I guess there's a lot of interest from around the world in our election, obviously. But I do think that with regards to the divisiveness in our country, I think there are some steps that Mr. Trump can take in the next few months. One is I think he could instigate a inner city infrastructure project, which I think would bring people together. I think he could set up an advisory board for trade deals and put Bernie Sanders on that board. And I think he could also appoint either a woman or a minority to his Supreme Court pick. And so I think if he did those three things, I think that would go a long way towards bringing the country together.
Right. Jim, I wonder how you react to that people are looking at websites wondering about whether they should emigrate, we should leave the States and move to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, etc.
Well, Australia and New Zealand are beautiful countries, so I think that I certainly don't blame people for wanting to move somewhere so beautiful. But look, a lot of people were surprised at what happened. A lot of people are upset, and if that's what they want to do, again, we are a free country, but I don't think we're going to see some mass exodus from the country. There was a list of celebrities going around the other day of all the people who had said they were going to move to Canada. I don't think many of them are actually going to move to Canada, and I do think that Donald Trump deserves a chance, and let's see how he's going to do as president.
Polly on Twitter says this: I'm a 17-year-old English member of the LGBT community, and the election of Trump has led many Americans to consider suicide. So many young LGBT Americans fear that they face a future of prosecution and would rather not live in such a world. Anthony has emailed to say it's one small step backwards for a man, one giant leap backwards for mankind. Patrick says Clinton won the popular vote, but the stupid system made Trump the winner. Louise on Twitter says this was a free and fair election. The majority voted against the establishment and for Trump. Give him a fair chance. Martin on text says many people will be shocked with Donald Trump's victory and his nasty and divisive campaign. We now could be on the brink of World War III, says Martin on text. What do you think of that, Charlotte Laws, as a supporter of Donald Trump?
Well, I don't even understand the LGBTQ comment, because Trump has actually been very much in favor of gay rights, and I believe he supports gay marriage. I think he always has. I know Hillary Clinton did not used to support it. So I don't really even understand where that comment would come from. As I said, he's been described inaccurately in the press. And he's somebody who gets along with everyone, who's very introspective, who's anti-war, who cares about all people. He's not racist. He's not sexist.
Laura wants to come in at that point as you're going through that list of things. Laura?
Yeah, I think, Charlotte raises a point. Charlotte may know him very well behind the scenes, but in front of the scenes, he has yet to show that. And that's what these next 2 months and 2 weeks until Inauguration Day are all about. It's a transition of power. It starts with meeting President Obama. I think that'll be a difficult meeting, but a very strong meeting. That is a tradition between presidents and president-elects. There are many differences in this time than others, such as having an impending indictment and a lawsuit against him at the time entering into office. Some very inflammatory remarks that have been made about carpet bombing ISIS and the areas without regard to innocent civilians. So I think that he should take these next 2 months to build a coalition, to be clearer on his actions, so that, again, even though he won the Electoral College, but not the popular vote, can really reassure that he is not just president of those that voted for him, but all of America. So this is a great opportunity for Donald Trump to help put a lot of those very alarming feelings of not just Americans that you see protesting, but a lot of the world leaders around the country at ease.
Yeah, Jim. I mean, we heard we heard a much more moderate tone when he gave his speech yesterday. Would you imagine, as president-elect, he will choose the route of compromise and pragmatism rather than the Donald Trump we saw during the election campaign?
Well, I think the one thing that Donald Trump has always said is he is a great deal maker, and if he is going to be a deal maker as president, then sure, he probably will have to make some compromises to work with Republicans in Congress, Republicans in the Senate. They have a lot in common, Donald Trump and the leaders of the Congress and the Republican leaders in Congress, but they also have some differences. So if he does want to get some of his policies enacted, he is going to have to be willing to compromise.
Yeah, well, that will be really interesting because really a lot of them distance themselves from him. They are the Republican establishment, you might describe them as. They distance themselves from him. Some of them outright rejected him. He really owes them nothing.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But again, if he wants to be a successful president with the system that we have in the United States, he can't just go it alone because then he won't be able to get his legislation passed by Congress. So my hope, personally, is that he does try to work together with people like Speaker Ryan and Senate Majority Leader McConnell.
Thank you all very much. Really appreciate you talking to our British audience again. Thank you. Thanks for your